Hello, hello, welcome back to the Visual Novel Research Bonanza series. This is the thoughts and notes video for week number 2. So without further ado, I'll be talking about Period Cube, The Shackles of Amadeus. So I know that there haven't been a lot of games, so me saying that this is the, first otome game of the series is not really saying much. But it's the first game, the first otome game of the series. Yay! There will be many more. I know what's in the jar, but at least it's like, I know there will be many more of them going forwards. So, this is the first time that I've actually sat down to play an otome game. It's not my first time, encountering them. It's just more like, usually what ends up happening is once these get adapted into sort of like an anime, chances are I've watched them. So I'm just going to start a new game just for the sake of, having something in the background while I talk about this one. Yeah, essentially, like, once one of these titles get adapted, chances are I've watched them. So, like, it's not as though I don't know what an otome game is or how people usually play them or, what usually happens in an otome game. I'm not walking in completely blind on this one. But what I am walking blind for, like, sort of like in regards to is just like, how these get played, like the gameplay, what are some of the usual conventions, all that kind of stuff. So moving on, here's the prologue. Yeah, I got a bit of a cough still, from, last week. It's still clearing, but occasionally I'll try not to clear my throat, into the mic every now and then, or as much as possible. So yeah, I do think that, if I had to, like, sum up my thoughts on otome games overall, it's really just that I don't think I'm built for these kinds of games. Like, I just don't think I'm built for otome games. And, I guess, like, the biggest reason for that, and, like, not to call myself a fossil or anything like that, but, like, I haven't been a teenager in a really long time. And playing this game specifically, at this point in my life, it really makes it very clear that I am not the demographic for this game. Maybe it's just this title, or just the genre in general. So just do bear that in mind. Also, if I am, like, saying anything that sounds really I'm trying not to sound too negative about it. I'm trying to keep this review. It's not even a review. Like, just like my thoughts on this relatively strictly towards the gameplay and stuff like that, because that's what I kind of need for the visual novel that I'm writing, right? So it's not to, disparage anybody who enjoys these games or likes playing these games, or, this, if they enjoy this title, then, this title specifically. It's just more like, what, in comparison to what I kind of liked and what I didn't like, and what I would incorporate in a game and wouldn't, right? So, that being said, rambling thoughts aside, I did look into some reviews on this one when I started playing, and it's not as though, like, there are some kind of mixed reviews for this title, and I'm kind of inclined to agree that, like, my feelings on this are pretty mixed. Like, it has some, depending on the route, it's got some, it's got some very convincing highs, but it's also got some very, annoying, to say the least, kind of lows, right? Like, what it doesn't do well here and there, it kind of stands out a bit. Or maybe it's just because that was a lot of it, my complaints come from Astrom's route, and that one has its issues. All right, so I think we are approaching this sort of first battle here. And so I'm just going to take a second here to, I guess, show what I have been doing in this game before I make any, rash decisions. Lol. Anyway, so I start off with Astrom's route here. Like, when I mentioned I looked into reviews, Yeah, I also did use like I guess like the first step or two of like a walkthrough or two just to make sure that like I was gonna go on to like try some of these guys' routes, not all of them. So like the first one I played was just Astrom's route, completely blind, just went through it, tried my best to get through it, and all of that. I will say that Astrom's route was the smoothest, right? But it was also the most frustrating and I feel restrictive out of them. Like it was the one that caused the culture shock, essentially. Um, so like don't get me wrong, it was great that his route was like it was really easy to get like high affection and also to level up just because of the way that, Astrum is able to like sort of like as a character, at least within the narrative, has pretty much planned everything out for MC. Like she just needs to coast. She just needs to be there, and she will, you know, uh, get what she needs, right? But like I said, it was the most restrictive and kind of most frustrating because of that. And then additionally, it doesn't help that a lot of the side characters were with like and it's a bit of a common thing between these three routes was that like, they kept all these guys kept commenting on how low, the main character's level was, or like, in Astrom's route specifically as well, like a lot of folks are just calling MC useless, like behind her back and like to her face even, right? And constantly just saying that she's useless and she can't do anything and she can't access the power of the Almighty and all that kind of stuff. And like, I get it, right? But it's frustrating because it's like, let me in a dungeon for like, maybe even just like 5 minutes, and maybe we can fix that. And the story just is like, no, now is not the time for dungeon. And then it's kind of like, when is the time for dungeon? It's like never the time for dungeon. There's never any dungeon time. And lol, yeah, there's never any time for the dungeons. There's no like, no, sweetie, you can't, don't fight, right? Meanwhile, like, as the player behind the MC, I'm like, yo, I crave violence. Let me go and, fight something. Like, and then it's like, and I get to the dungeon sometimes and they're like, the MC's just giving the play-by-play. I was like, no, I don't want the play-by-play, description of this battle. I want an actual functioning battle menu, right? Let me participate. And no, they're just like, you're not participating in this fight. You're just here to watch. And it's just, you know, what am I doing here? Meanwhile, in the background, just getting called useless the entire time. And it's just like, I don't know. If some folks like that, that's great. But like this one especially was just like that. It's not weaponized in confidence. It's not like MC, wants to be, I guess, like is trying to deliberately remain useless, but the game is very much set on enforcing her uselessness, and then like the guys are also just like enabling it. Hiroya's route here is kind of similar as well. Like it's just a lot of just, stay out of the way, don't do it, it's dangerous, and then just like not really letting MC do a lot of things. And that got, that got old real fast. I did have to use a guide to just sort of like make sure that I was on his route. And then after that, like, all mistakes are my own. And you know what? Actually, the way that they kept MC sort of like out of everything, this one actually backfired spectacularly. So Astrom's route here, I got the bad end. Like I said, I think I missed one like sort of like interaction between them, and then like, but like my level was high enough. Like I maxed out to the level walking into the final chapter. And so I still got I got the bad end. But this one, I just game over. Like there was no merry bad end or anything. The legit game over because the MC's level wasn't high enough walking into that final chapter. Affection was relatively high, but just like it's not enough to save them. No. Libera's route here. This one, I didn't need the guide because like essentially, Libero's route and Hiroya's route diverge really early on, and it's like clear how they diverge, but I did fumble most of the interactions with Libero. So even though like Forte, so the demon speedrunning team, like the side characters, I love them. But anyway, the side characters came in clutch at the 11th hour and basically helped MC level up to level 5. But the problem was, despite leveling up to level 5 at the last minute, again, like I said, I fumbled half the interactions with Libero, so it just ended up being the bad end anyway. I did need Radius's. I need a little bit of help just getting onto Radius's route, but then after that, I did. I really was trying to get the good end for him because, like, essentially, and this has to do with the side characters too. Like in all of these routes, I really fell in love with a lot of the side characters there. Like in Astrom's route, there's Shirent, so he's like this sort of like uncle angel character there, right? And he seemed like a cool guy, right? Like I wanted a happy ending, if just to like, you know, give him some closure so he doesn't have to, you know, have a bad end, right? But no, apparently, this one, because I bad ended, it really nerfed him, right? Hiroya's route, like, yeah, again, I really like the side characters. I appreciated like Domina, for instance, in the inn. She's a pretty cool character, but again, didn't make it out, so you know, no good. Like, I feel like I screwed her over somehow. Libero's route, oh, this one hurt me because it's like I said, I really liked Forte. Forte, like, absolutely amazing group there, right? They're really, you know, they're helpful, they're sweet. There were a lot of interactions in the inn, right, that had like potential. If they were to like adapt it into an anime, like there would probably be a lot more time to like develop it. But you know, given that this particular game is very like the show must go on, right? It ended up being like there wasn't enough, but there was enough that like there wasn't like enough like sort of like fleshed out, but there is enough to see the potential there. And like they're so sweet. Like I feel I every time I get a bad end, like so Astrom's route and Libero's route, when I get a bad end because like, you know, MC goes bonkers and just nerfs everyone, I feel really bad. So like because of that, like when it came to Radius's route here, and I really want to say Radius because that I recognize the word as Radius, but like I know they've been pronouncing it Radius, and I'm just like, okay. But like also the character's name outside of the game world, right? Like in their like they're supposed in the game real world kind of thing. It's Ray. So it's kind of like okay, well, like is it whatever. And if I call him Radish, I mean it affectionately. It's just because I'm trying to say Radius. But anyway, like he's been showing up in, you know, all of their routes and is also a very sweet character. So I really wanted to see what his route was like. And then like if nobody else's route was good, like I did want him to get after all the shenanigans I put him through in the other characters like routes, I really wanted his to come out, you know, with a good end, which I did, right? Like as you can see, I kind of started doing that thing where you save like before every decision, just so that, you know, you can try to get the right one. Because the stakes are kind of high after, like, you know, 3 not so good ends, and, like, you know, I actually really did like this character's route. Mainly because while the other guys really, like, coddled MC, because he's not, I guess, as present in some of those initial routes, like, MC for once is actually forced to look things up herself. Like, yes, I know the bar is that low, but like I appreciate that, you know, she has a lot more initiative in this one. There's a lot more room for her to, you know, to do things herself when it came to this route. And that's why I really appreciated this one. It was a breath of fresh air after, you know, being like carried. And like I get it. Like for some folks it's like the princess treatment is great, but like this one was like actually, I think, good if you're looking for something more character driven. This one is like the if you're looking for a plot that makes sense, these 3. I guess. Like as like narratively speaking, even though I did like this route the best, like like, if I'm to look at it, like, objectively a little bit, it was the one that made the least sense based off of the clues that they offered. Like, plot-wise, it's a garbage route. It's just, like, it's all about the relationship, but honestly, I don't care. I'm just surprised I got the good end, because with this one, despite my efforts, the MC's level was actually relatively low, and I was really, like, racking my brains and, like, hoping that it would still be you know, because I was kind of I was kind of dreading the last bit, because I was thinking, oh, like, you know, MC's level is only level 2, and I don't think I'm gonna get any chances to get it any higher than that. But no, apparently it was level 2 is enough. I maxed out the affection, and that's what got me, you know, the good end. I was also a little bit surprised at how risque it got here and there. Like, you know, Buddy hasn't been, like, like, on main, like, a bad influence to MC, but, like, she's been making some pretty, like, she's been making some choices there that are, like, kind of like you would raise your eyebrows if your teenage child were to make those. But, like, no, whatever. Like, it's a story. It's fine. It's whatever makes them happy. It did seem a little bit preferable to some of these other, like, just, yeah, she was such a doormat. I don't want to say that about her, but, like, she really was a doormat. But there's also, like, again, the story must go on, and it must go on in a certain way, so I kind of get it. And, like, after, you know, playing Astrom's route and playing everybody else's, like, I think what helped was, you know, kind of rethinking what this game is even about, right? Like, what this particular genre is intending. And I've kind of just boiled it down to, well, you know, if we think about it really simply, right? With any game, like, you want to think about its objectives. So in this particular case, the objective is, there are two, right? One is get the guy, right? And the second one is get out of town, which is the game, Arcadia. They want to escape, right? So that's fine, right? And it's interesting to see how the resources that I'm supposed to be collecting through the game have to do with those two goals. So the level basically is what helps with, you know, getting out of town. And then the get the guy is obviously the affection meter, which I probably can't pull up right now just because it's a little too early in the game. So maybe I'm just going to go back to, I guess, the battle. So, like, on that topic then, like, you know, a lot of the battle menus then they're not there for you to actually use as a battle thing, but they're to determine the route that you're going to get, right? And, like, that's kind of where most of your choices are going to go towards. Like, it's which route you're going to have, which, you know, for some people are like, well, yeah, that's stating the obvious. But, you know, for me, who's never really played visual novels, it's just recalibrating what I think of, you know, battle systems and how it relates to story. So bear with me here, right? So I'm just going to use a knife in this case. I wonder if that's what that's going to do, but I guess we'll find out. Or was I supposed to crouch? I don't know. The two routes that I have remaining are, like, Zanes and Poyo Poyos, and given what I've seen of them in the other routes, a part of me just really doesn't want to go down those routes. Just because both of them are a little bit sus. Just in general. But, like, it's kind of just like, okay, well, I guess I want to see, like, but I guess, like, what it is, like, if I get them, can I differentiate their happy endings with everybody else's, like, merry bad endings, if that makes sense, right? Like, I guess given what, you know, has been revealed about them, but whatever, doesn't matter. Like, basically, I want good ends for these characters. Like, I think at some point, like, what was motivating me to try to get good ends, which, you know, I would say makes sense within, like, as long as I'm just trying to progress story, then I'm technically doing, you know, what they want me to do in this kind of game. And I see the appeal. I truly do see the appeal. But I guess one of the main motivators for me right now is just to get good endings for the side characters. Because, like I said, I feel like I've really nerfed them, or, like, you know, really screwed them over as the MC with, you know, my screw-ups. So anyway, let's give that a go. Who's going to show up? I know who shows up. But, like, yeah, this initial quest gets pretty long, and I don't think I'm really going to do anything that's going to change my route too much. And I don't really remember what I did to do to get, what's his face's route? Radius's one. But I do think that, like, overall it's been a journey, right? Through this. I guess the rest of it would just be like seeing how this compares with some of the other titles as I play them. But, you know, I think there's a lot that I actually wrote down for this one. Not to really talk about, but just like in terms of like the aesthetics or like just a lot of the other things that I kind of needed to keep in mind when it comes to visual novels as a genre. Like, what are the norms in a sense, right? So how it's supposed to look, how, you know, the stories get told, things like that. And I think it's been insightful, to say the least. But yeah, I guess I'm just really getting through the prologue for this one. But I guess there's still the rest of this afternoon or evening or whatever it is to see if there are still any routes that I want to do. But if not, I don't think this is one of those games that I will be continuing outside of just like maybe for the routes that I have done, just getting that like good ending for the sake of the side characters. It really just is that. I love the side characters a little too much. I honestly do like them a lot more than the main characters. So I'm just going to leave it at this and sort of like go from there. So again, the draw is going to happen this Sunday, which is essentially tomorrow for me. Yeah, we'll see what we've got for next week. You know, when I get around to it, I guess. Any final remarks on this one? Not particularly. I think I covered everything. So, I guess I'll see you when I see you, if I see you. And, you know, even if I don't, then I'm wishing you all the best. Indefinitely. And, yeah, I'll leave it at that. Okay, thanks for tuning in, and bye.